Hey, welcome to the CTO Studio. This week I talked to Jesus Lizama. He is an engineer turned CTO of a rapidly growing agency. They're doubling their revenues every year. Hear about how he's managing his team, his growth, and a very special story for us immigrants. Cheers.
Well, I have a wonderful electronic invention I want you to see. It looks something like this.
Welcome to the CTO Studio. I'm your host, Etienne de Bruin. The CTO Studio is where we chat with CTOs building amazing products with incredible teams. Have you chatted with a CTO lately? Jesus Lizama?
Hello, this is me.
Welcome to the CTO Studio.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Do you know what a CTO Studio looks like?
No, for me it's like a dungeon. You know, I imagine some arcade machines, a ping pong table.
The Incredible Hulk, life-size doll, He-Man.
Yeah, He-Man.
You're right. I should do a better job. I think when CTO Studio becomes huge, we'll have people sponsor us with those types of things. We definitely need an arcade.
Yeah.
Dig Dug.
And I just today I was pitching some of our guys to get Marvel vs. Capcom too. You know, you need a classic like that. You need it.
So we're in Los Angeles, and so tell me a little bit. So you're CTO of Studio 3, and you and I had a great chat before this about the niche that you've carved out for yourselves. So tell me a little bit about what Studio 3 does.
Yeah, so Studio 3 is a full, all-encompassing marketing company. We specialize in digital marketing, but we do, print, we do photo shoots, everything. You can, the way I like to pitch Studio 3 is you can come to me with an idea or come to us with an idea, and we can give you a product. So
when you say print, is that when you take ink and you spread it out on a physical substance?
I've only seen this technology, archaic technology, once or twice. So I don't know. I don't know what it is.
It sounds like the future.
It could be.
I mean, to have something be permanent on a physical object, that sounds amazing compared to what we have now.
I can only, I only think in virtual, so I can't even comprehend this. This is beyond me right now. So
are you a co-founder of Studio 3?
No.
And so how did you join and how did you grow into this role?
So prior to working at Studio 3, I was going to college and I was working there as a math mentor. So I worked with the math department, even the computer science department at times. And I think I was on break and I was like, I really want to just start programming. Let's see if I can get a job. So I remember Christmas Eve, I went out, I started sending out a bunch of resumes on Craigslist, by the way. And I got the job through Craigslist. I got interviewed, and within a week I was told, I remember I asked, I was like, hey, what do you guys, am I going to get the job? Because otherwise I'll just go back to school and keep working as a mentor. They're like, no, you're good. So that's kind of how it began.
Well, how did what coding test did they have you do?
It was really they just threw me into the water and they're like, okay, we've got a project we need you to build, go. Wow. And so it was just a website. It was, it was building a website with PHP, HTML, CSS, all that stuff. And I grew from there. Yeah.
I love those stories. And then, so you signed on as a software developer and then what happened?
And then, kind of grew into
were you like developer number one?
No, there was another developer. Yeah, he's still at the company. He's a really good friend of mine. Except I came from a more computer science background. That was my major in school. So I came in and, off the bat, I kind of changed a few things. This was before mobile responsive design was fully out and priority. So I came in, I was like, oh, we could start doing responsive websites. Quick. So, quickly I came in and dropped in some technologies that I knew were going to be helpful. And
you were like, dude, the CS major is in the house.
Right. And then became lead developer, after, maybe a year or so.
Okay.
And then from there on, the company kept growing. We kept needing more and more developers. And the way I got the role of CTO, actually, I was thinking about this during my drive here. I was like, oh, I might get asked, so might as well remember. So I remember I had a meeting with HR, and the meeting was just simple. I think everyone was having these.
HR?
Yeah, and we don't. I know we have an HR department, but it's not like crazy. It's not what we're thinking. And she asked me, "Where do you see yourself in 5 years?" And I said, "Honestly, I see myself as CTO of this company in 5 years." And great thing I said that, because our CEO at the time, he was already thinking this. So a week after that conversation, he pulls me in. We go to lunch, and he's like, "Hey, I want to make you the CTO." So I'm glad we're on the same page. And a few months after that, I was a CTO, and
suddenly you were everyone's boss.
Yeah.
How did that go?
Great. I mean, great. It really doesn't change anything for me. Hierarchies are flat for me. There's really no such thing as a hierarchy, at least how I see it. And so, it's the same position really as I feel like what I used to be, except now I'm more involved in some of the strategy, the business strategy, which, it's still something I'm learning about. But, I'm still a developer. Sometimes I don't, sometimes I go to meetups, for example, and I don't introduce myself as a CTO. I just say I'm a web developer or software engineer or whatever, just because I still want that. It's a big part of me.
But then they see that you were nominated as CTO of the Year by the LA Business Journal.
It's true. That was pretty awesome. That was pretty awesome, I will say.
Wow.
Yeah.
How was that?
That was amazing. I definitely felt like I didn't belong, just because of the big names that were there. They were talking CTO of the Clippers, CTO of LA, which I didn't know we had a CTO, but there's a CTO. Playboy, Verizon, Disney, all these other great companies, and I'm right there. There's 40 of us that were, nominees. And so just being amongst that crowd and it was amazing. I was sitting in the same table as the CTO of LA, and then I had a really good conversation with the CTO of the Clippers, and it was just amazing. Just kind of like what I would imagine having CTOs conference could be like. You're meeting all these people from the area, and you're
wow, and they have a genuine interest in you and your growth.
Yeah.
Now, is Clippers, is that a hair salon or a studio?
It's a basketball team. Of course, I know you're joking.
But so are you a basketball fan?
No, not at all.
My son is really into it.
Really?
He's only 10. But now, as a South African, as a South African dad, I have to feign interest in the rules and the league, and it's tough.
Yeah, I know.
Although of all the American sports, I think just shockingly, basketball seems like the most interesting one to me.
Really?
Because I still think that it's a marvel that you can throw a ball. Like, every shot isn't guaranteed.
Yeah. It's fantastic, and you see these guys playing their control with the ball and their
individual
and
skill.
even teamwork. Like, you see someone like LeBron who just has like a bird's eye view of the whole game, and he just understands everything. It's fantastic. It's a beautiful sport.
It is beautiful. So you're made CTO. Did you? What was the first, I would say, obstacle that you feel you faced where you were like, I think maybe this isn't quite what I had in mind?
I don't know if I've experienced that yet. We definitely have experienced technological problems. Or one of the first tasks that I was given is, hey, we need to build this reporting platform. And so I come from a background of building websites. They were pretty much static. There was some, business logic involved, but not too much. And so finally I have to build this full-on MVC, application. And it was, although it was CTO, I was still hands-on developer. So it was a lot of technologies that I had to fully grasp real fast and build something, an MVP, within months. And then after a year, we finally had a working system that was super useful for the company.
Did you, were you part of the decision to build that product, or was that mostly already decided and you just had to execute? Yeah,
no, I was definitely very involved, and in fact, extremely involved in every aspect of it. I designed it, everything, it was mainly me and the CEO we got together and we're like, okay, where can we come together right now and build something that's going to be super useful for the company? And that's, I think, what we decided on. And
can you remember the first person you hired?
The first person I hired? Yeah, there was a few. the first person was Leo. He's no longer at the company. He didn't last too long. Hiring has always been very hard for us. Very hard. Yeah.
Hiring is tough.
Yeah, it is. And we still don't have that right.
Do you think Leo is no longer with you because you hired because of you, or it's a bit of a sensitive question, but do you feel like that first hire was a real challenge for you as a CTO?
Yeah, definitely, because
like an engineer turned CTO.
So you mean hiring after I became CTO?
Yes.
So I take it back. This is before I was CTO. I was involved in the interview process for hiring developers prior to that. Okay. If we're talking about CTO, I do think, I remember he's now our lead dev. So so it's actually a completely different story.
Completely. The moral of the story is when you're not the hiring manager, it's an unsuccessful hire.
Yeah.
When you are the hiring manager, it's a successful one.
Yeah, and I think it definitely has to do. Now I have a different mindset where I'm now responsible for the success of the company. I'm responsible for the success of our engineering team. So there's more to it than just being I feel responsible for the success of it.
How long have you been in this role? CTO.
2 years
or
so.
And what do you feel, if you reflect on the 2 years, what do you feel you've grown the most at, or had to grow the most at?
I think the most is being able to delegate, because I come from being the person that you have to solve all the problems, and you have to learn to not be so attached to certain problems or certain projects, and just choose the right people to work on it with you.
Are you still reviewing pull requests?
Yeah, I still look at it. I'm still committing. I'm still actively contributing to our code bases.
But you don't have a bottleneck where you have to review all pull requests?
No. Okay. In fact, we have certain repositories where I trust our engineers, and there's certain things that I don't feel like I need to look at it. I think we've developed a level of trust within certain projects that I don't think it's needed.
Yeah, a difficult journey for me was when my engineers started rejecting my pull requests.
Yeah, that's sometimes they're just better people. They're better at their job, so let them do it.
Yeah, in probably much like you, I was the core developer of our first product, and it was very difficult for me to let go.
Yeah,
very difficult.
Yeah. It still is.
and I think I had it all sugar coated as I'm this nice person it's easy to talk to, but on the inside I was a maniac. I was obsessed over my ideas being pushed forward.
Yeah.
And then I had to learn that your people are you're there to lift them up and higher than you.
Yeah.
And that sounds like such a cliche when you say it, but when you have to do it, it's incredibly difficult.
It is very difficult. Yeah.
One of the key focuses that I've learned over the years that a CTO should have is on tooling. Is to be able to provide tools that makes life as easy as possible for your team.
Yeah.
And helps you accelerate your whatever the mundane tasks are. And I see, when we spoke, you mentioned that you were able to do that as part of some of your accomplishments.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Yeah. So in terms of overall company, I think it's very important because sometimes I think people think that CTO is, you're definitely very involved with the development team, but there's also that other area where I try to be involved in other areas. So one of the biggest things we did was switch over to Slack. Switching to Slack. Before that, we had AOL. I think we were using AOL and email. And it was just, it worked, I guess, but it wasn't what it is now. And even more recently, we switched over to Airtable to do all of our project management. And that was fantastic. It's great. So I think as CTO, you have to look at all the tools that are available. You don't have to build everything. I think you have to be resourceful and find tools that are already existing out there that you can implement into your company, organization, and being able to like be effective with that. And and also in terms of development as well, except I try to give our team more flexibility, and I let them experiment and find tools for themselves. Sometimes I do find really cool ways of doing something, and I'll like offer that as an option. But I think I'm developing. I'm fostering this kind of like just culture of being self-dependent and creating tools for your own self and for your own teams. Because we have our development team is actually separated into different teams. There's like development team that's working on new projects, and then there's another team that's working on existing projects, and then there's like our R&D team, which we're building like doing research and building new software, like completely radically new software.
And which teams wishes they could be the other team?
I don't know. I think everyone's
happy.
Yeah, I would love to try just a role swap for a day and see what happens. I'm sure people would not be happy.
Yes. I mean, I think that what drives the people that are attracted to R&D projects are very often the same people who would hate carefully deploying and manicuring projects.
Yeah.
And the vice versa. It's like this great blog post by Rands and Repose around volatiles and stables, where the volatiles can build without any specs, and just 24 hours later you have a product. The stables can't code unless they have the spec neatly thought through and refined. And you need both.
Yeah, you do.
And so how are you integrating? So I want to get to what Studio 3 actually, we spoke about sort of a niche that you've been very successful in. But how do you manage the integration of the R&D projects into your production environment, or into your, if R&D comes up with feature A, do you have a process for sort of folding it into the company? Yeah,
we normally get people who are involved in, like, if we're building something for paid search, we get people on that team, and we get their feedback. We just, I think feedback's super important. So we normally just share it with some people and get beta tests going on. It's pretty easy. We have a certain way to deploy a branch and serve that to a certain subset of users, and then they'll be seeing it while, not affecting the production application. So, that's, I guess, one way that we do that.
How many R&D projects do you have going right now?
We have about two or three right now. Okay. Yeah.
And the team size there is 2 or 3 people? Or?
Yeah, it's actually small. It's our CEO is very involved, so a CEO, and then I have another
pet projects.
Yeah, we call them secret sauces, or side sauce or something like that.
Side sauce.
And then we have another full stack software engineer.
So, tell me about the niche that you hit on and kind of how that happened, because I think that's quite an amazing success story. Yeah,
so I came in to the company about a year or two after it was assembled, but it originally started with our co-founder and one of his friends who was a doctor, and the doctor needed online marketing, like SEO and probably other forms, website management. So he learned how to do all this and developed a system that was working really well. And so they eventually were like, hey, this could help other doctors or other people in our industry. Why don't we just try and do it for other people? And that's kind of how it's grown. And even to this day, we don't really do too many outbound sales or any kind of marketing really for ourselves. Everything's word of mouth, and it's kind of like a snowball effect, I think, from that moment of working with that original doctor, going through his network, and then, going from there.
And do you have Powered by Studio 3 as a tagline to all their websites?
Yeah, a lot of them have I think design. One of our big things is design. We're design and data first. So design by Studio 3 marketing, and then online marketing, or marketing by Studio 3. We
built a similar network for nonprofits, and we found that our number one referrer was that little tagline.
Oh, for sure. Especially for us, because SEO is one of our key services. And a lot of our clients, they kill it on search. So they're number one, page 2, and people notice that, and their competitors notice that, and they'll come to us.
But how does one, so you said mostly, what type of medical field?
So all sorts, but we do kill it in the aesthetic world. So this includes plastic surgery, medical spas, cosmetic dentistry, things like that.
And so SEO wise, is it still Google and search terms?
Yeah, it definitely is Google.
So nose job, North Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
Boom, Studio of 3.
Yeah, if you look at like nose job, Beverly Hills is like big, rhinoplasty is massive there. So yeah, I'm not going to put money on this, but I bet you that in most big parts of the country, of the big metropolitan cities, our clients there, number one. Yeah.
That must be a compelling story.
Yeah, and then that's all our SEO team. We have a whole team that dedicates themselves to learning how that machine works, even though nobody knows.
And so then do you have case studies where people can then say, hey, since I joined Studio 3, my business has tripled? Or
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, that's pretty common.
Pretty simple.
In fact, our losing rate of clients is very low. Like we hardly ever lose clients. Most people that come in, they stay with us, and if they leave us, it's not because of a performance issue. It's for some other reason. But yeah.
And your technology is something you guys built from scratch? Is it?
Mm-hmm.
You built you said it's sort of a flat file CMS?
Yeah, we have like a flat file CMS system set up with PHP.
And you've built that all. Did you use a PHP framework at all?
No. I mean, we do use a lot of open source libraries and frameworks, but nothing. Yeah, it's all built. Yeah, it was built by us.
I love it. So you have so we have something in common, which is we're both foreigners.
Mm-hmm.
But you have a very special story in that you're a DACA recipient.
That's right.
So I would love for you to tell us that story.
Sure. At least that's what I can remember. I've been in the United States since I was about 1 or 2 years old. So I'm from stories that I gathered from my mom. It was actually a very interesting journey for her to at one point decide, hey, I got to leave Mexico and come to the United States for a better life for my kids. And at the time it was just me and my older sister. She decided this is what I need to do in order for us to survive. And a funny story is, everyone, there's coyote, at least, I don't know, I guess there's still coyotes now, but this is how it happened. Not too many people know this, by the way. My mom hired these people. It was like a family who had kids similar to us in age. And I was dressed as a girl and my sister as a boy, and that's how it worked. So we came in, through a port of entry, and it looked like we were kids, but my mom had to go through the rigorous journey of crossing the desert, crossing the river, the Grande or whatever they call it. And she remembers my sister at one point saying, no, I don't want to go with the other people. I want to go with you. And she almost did that. But in retrospect, she realized the journey. And there was points where she was crawling on the ground and, blood everywhere. And she's like, there's no way this, 3 or 4 year old girl would be even capable. Anyways, she went through that enduring journey. And
so you guys cross through a border post as part of another family.
Mm-hmm.
And why did you have to dress as a girl and a boy?
Because our ages, right? So my sister was a little older, and I was a little younger, and the family had an older son and a younger daughter, and so it was just.
So you went in as their children. Yeah. Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, that's horrible now you think about it, but but that's what happened.
Yeah, I mean, and then your mom made it.
Yeah, correct.
And then you reunited.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that in itself is also something you gotta, that I it's crazy that she was able to do that. She, felt so compelled that she needed to separate us, because what's the guarantee of either or not making it? There's so much risk involved. Luckily, yeah, we ended up back together in San Diego, and yeah, that's crazy.
And do you know what compelled her? I mean, apart from the obvious, is there something that I don't know that that I could sort of have an understanding for what's to go through that kind of ordeal?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't know. I know that even now where my grandparents live, like it's not very modernized. It's a pretty poor area with limited job opportunities, especially for her, at least at the time. So I don't know. I think it could have been multiple factors, but
is this Guadalajara?
Mm-hmm,
Yeah.
mm-hmm. And I think at the time, thinking about it, like from a geopolitical point of view, I think it was after like the Reagan amnesty. So I think at that time there was a big drive, there was a big migration from that region over to the United States, because there was probably some hope that there would be another, amnesty from whoever was president at the time.
So possibly your mother gets wind of that kind of thing happening in the States, and then there's an opportunity that she then grabs to do that.
Yeah.
And so then you guys lived in San Diego for a while?
Yeah, I think, I don't know exactly how long, but I do remember going to pre-K in San Diego. But everything else has been LA, like from kindergarten and up for me.
So then she decides to move with the four of you up to LA.
Yeah, the two of us. Yeah, and my dad was involved in certain parts. He was already in the United States, but they had so many issues. Like by the time we moved from San Diego to LA, there was no that. Yeah.
And so tell me about the DACA process. Like how did you get through that?
Yeah, so luckily into 2012, President Obama at the time, passed this executive order which allowed people like me that were brought to the U.S. as children, and who graduated high school and had no criminal record, to apply for this thing called DACA. And so DACA is just a renewable work permit, basically, and it allows you to, one of the biggest things, it allows you to travel domestically. Like you don't have to be worried about being deported. I guess that's the biggest thing, right? You're not going to get deported as long as you have DACA and you can work, which is the two big things that you really need to, at least or at least work. You need work to survive. But as when you're an undocumented immigrant, having that safety of knowing you're not going to be deported if you were to be stopped by Border Patrol, that right there is a huge, just a stress reliever. Like I don't have to worry about that. But I had to for, almost 20 something years of my life. I had to worry about that. So 2012, no more an issue. I got it. And I was already in college at the time. And so it helped because I was able to work now. And funny enough, I don't know, this is serendipity, but the day my work permit came in, I got a call from our math department, director of math, asking me if I wanted to work at college. And I was like, yes, I can totally work. Let me do this. And so just kind of went from there.
What math degree did you get?
I didn't get a degree. I dropped out. I started working at Studio 3.
Okay, so you quit to do that.
I actually wasn't a math major. I was just computer science major. And
okay, cool.
I was just, math was easy to me. Certain types of math were easy to me, and so I was able to work and teach people that.
Yes. How is this experience? So let me ask you this. Did you have friends or did you know people who applied for DACA and didn't get it?
No.
Okay.
But I will say this. I didn't know a lot of my friends, or several of my friends were undocumented immigrants until DACA came out. It wasn't something that was spoken of. You don't
share that information.
Yeah, you don't really share that information. So there was a few of my friends. I was like, whoa, you're a DACA recipient too? Me too. So that was pretty interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how has that shaped, you're currently a leader in the tech industry. You're the CTO of a successful company. You're a job provider. You're a job creator.
Yeah.
But you've you've gone through a pretty tumultuous time, especially with your mother. And so how has all of that shaped you, do you think? Moving forward, what does this mean for Jesus?
I mean, it's just a drive, like I was so deprived of an opportunity for decades. And so for me, once I got DACA, it just turned on, the light. I was like, okay, cool. I have some direction. I can go. I'm, motivated to conquer the world. That's what it's always been, so it's been a fantastic opportunity. I was able to, luckily, somehow I was given the opportunities to grow within our company, and I'm very thankful for that.
So I had an experience at a border crossing between California and Arizona, and I was driving to Santa Fe, New Mexico, and it was a Friday afternoon. I jumped in the car and I just started driving. And when I crossed into Arizona, there was a line of cars, and I opened my window and I heard what I now realize was Border Patrol.
Mm-hmm.
Then I didn't know that existed between states. And as we were inching to the access point, I could hear the Border Patrol agent ask, "Are you an American citizen?"
Mm-hmm.
At that point, I was in the country for probably 18 months. And so now as I'm inching forward, I can see that it's kind of one of those, they're kind of just waving people through.
Yeah, like a checkpoint.
Yeah, and but they're asking every car, "Are you a citizen?"
Yeah.
Or a permanent resident? And I tell you what, the 4 minutes or so that it took me to get through, I was agonizing over should I try and fake an American accent and just say yeah or something, and risk it, or should I just be honest and just say no?
Mm-hmm.
And I figured if I say no, they're just going to say, "Well, show me your driver's license and we're good." So I decided to say that I wasn't.
Wow.
And they pulled me aside, and I was like, "Oh, geez." And then they said, "Where is show us your passport."
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have my passport on me. And that started a 4 or 5 hour ordeal.
Wow. Yeah.
And I mean,
and it's scary.
It was scary, man, because we had moved from South Africa to Germany, and then from Germany to the States. So it wasn't like I had anywhere to go to except fly all the way back to South Africa with nothing.
Right.
And I just started a new job, and it was terrifying. And I tell you what, for those 4 or 5 hours, I feel like the Border Patrol was a little bit of a reach. I mean, I felt like they were enjoying it a lot. Threatening me.
Oh, wow.
Just telling me how they were going to deport me. Just using some really foul language to just tell me that I was in the wrong place.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I was able to dig through my glove compartment, and I saw I had some mail items in there. And one of the items was my social security card that had been mailed to me.
Wow.
But not the card, the other part of the envelope.
Yeah. They usually, it has your name, right? And congratulations, here's your,
So I had an H-1B. I was in the country legally. I just made this. I didn't think that I needed a passport to travel inside of the US. And as a foreigner, your passport is, if you lose that thing, you are completely screwed. So I didn't travel with it because I didn't want to lose it.
Yeah.
And so finally, like 4.5 hours in, the same dude who was just so smug came back to me and said, because I was able to show and I don't think that's true, but he, I think, decided, okay, this kid is probably legal.
Yeah.
Came back and said, because I showed him because it had the envelope with my mailing address,
Right.
and it had the insert. I had the social security thing again locked away with my passport, and that was one of the worst experiences of my life.
Yeah, I can fully relate to that. And even for me, I there was a big, before DACA, I kind of couldn't even travel. I couldn't go anywhere. Even traveling to like Santa Barbara, I would refuse to, because I was so scared of having, or having a moment like that. I didn't want to experience that.
Exactly, because all it takes is someone to have a fender bender, or you accidentally, some vehicle accident. Everything changes.
Yeah, yeah.
We've also had several, like I told you earlier, we've had several, and by several I mean 4 or 5 times, where when we fly back into the country, we're pulled aside into that small little office, and you kind of get subjected to interrogation that is, it sucks to feel so powerless, man.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's, definitely people out there that are experiencing it at much more difficult levels than we are. So, we're fortunate.
No, and I count myself as supremely fortunate, even having gone through those experiences. And so I love your story, and it just means that it really touches me.
Yeah, I hope it brings about awareness. I think there's a lot of DACA recipients out there that are in the technology space. There's a lot of programmers. We've all been here, I think, all of high school, and so if I can get more people to be aware of this, political limbo that we're in, it's great. It's great. I don't mind sharing that part of my life, because I think more people need to be talking about it.
And so with the ICE thing that was going on, was that, ICE was the checkpoints for immigrants, right? Mm-hmm. Was that going on in LA as well? And
Oh yeah. There was moments where there was raids all the time. You'd hear about them, in the news, and those were so scary, because some of them were actually very close to home. Just one wrong moment of being out going grocery shopping could have been that moment when you're gone. Yeah, that was reality for me for years.
And so next steps for you would be from DACA to citizenship, or?
I don't know. It just depends on what the people, controlling the government decide to do. The biggest thing about DACA that people, I think, misunderstand is that we have other options. Like, there's other options to become a citizen, but you're not. You actually don't. So when you're a DACA recipient, for the most part, what it means is that you either came to the United States either legally or illegally. But now you're here, and there's no means to do anything else. So for me, there's a big subset of us that came to the U.S. illegally, right? And when you don't have a proof of entry when you come into the United States, you don't have like a stamp on your passport or anything like that, that base automatically closes all doors to any pathways to citizenship or residency. There's no way. There's nothing you can do. The only thing you can do is go back to the United States or to your original country and apply for it from outside. But what happens then is, because you came in illegally, that's a law that you broke. Yeah. You get barred from entering the United States for up to 10 years, sometimes even more. And you almost rarely actually get the opportunity to come back. Even, I'm married. I'm married to a U.S. citizen, and I don't have a pathway right now. There's nothing.
Even not through marriage?
Correct. That's a big misconception, because of the fact that I have no proof of ever entering the United States. So that just fully closes all doors.
So that means that short of something exceptional happening in government,
correct,
you have no pathway.
Correct.
Huh. And then DACA also has an expiry, right? So
every 2 years you have to go through the process. You end up paying about $500 as a processing fee, and you go and you get your biometrics done. That's like, fingerprinting, things like that. And, if assuming they approve it, you're good to go for another 2 years.
Okay. So a very real future for you is and every 2 year, as long as the system.
Yeah, I have to renew this year. In fact, I probably will do it sometime this week. I have to go submit my paperwork.
And worst case scenario, you and your family have to leave.
Worst case scenario, yes, but I don't know if I could do that. I don't.
Yeah. No, I mean,
there's nothing for me over there. I don't know anyone. You know,
Yeah.
I for the first time this year, I met my grandparents, my mom's parents, and some of her sisters.
They came here.
They came here. They visited for a little while, but that was it. That's the full extent of who I met, you know, in Mexico, and I have no recollection of that country. It's not. I don't.
Yeah,
that's not home for me.
No, America's your home.
Yeah.
Do you feel American?
Oh yeah, I mean in every sense, other than this one little piece of paper,
Crazy.
I guess you can say.
Well, I really appreciate you sharing that. It's a you know, I feel extremely fortunate. I think this is the greatest country on the planet, and I'm a part of it now.
Yeah.
I became a citizen last year, and it's huge.
Yeah.
And I want that for you.
I want that too. We all want that. I know we're this is our home. We consider this the country, the best country, out there. So hopefully, all in due time. In due time.
So let's end off with sort of the scene. Are you immersed with other CTOs? What's happening for you in LA?
So in LA, that's something that I'm still looking for. I'm still searching for a community of CTOs. I've gone to a couple meetups. I think we talked about it right before this interview. But yeah, it's a big thing for me because I'm coming from a heavy engineering background, and I'm now CTO, and it's no longer just engineering. You know, I now have to learn about business, learn about managing people, and these are all things that I didn't really prepare for. You know, so I'm actively looking for that community, that group of people to learn from, because we're not the first company to be in our certain stage of growth, and I know that there's others that have done it, and they're more than willing to share their expertise and experience with certain struggles that arise, and so that's my next thing. That's me right now. I'm still searching.
Yeah, the what I found with my company was there's a real breakdown that starts taking place around 15, 16 direct report / employees in the engineering team. It just starts getting, it's like having 2 versus 3 kids. It's just, you get completely outnumbered. You cannot hold the issues and the challenges and the motivations and the screw ups in your head anymore.
Yeah.
Do you already have some sort of, you said you got a flat structure.
Yeah.
Have you already started, does each of those 3 groups of yours have like a lead?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are they your direct reports or?
Yeah. We work together all the time. But yeah, like I said, delegation is super important, and I don't have enough hands to manage everyone. And so we've delegated these leadership roles within those groups, and they're doing a fantastic job.
Well, I know we're in LA, and I know the LA CTO Forum is a very popular network. I know they do multiple events, and
I'm gonna check them
definitely
out.
check them out. Tony Carrere, those guys. It's lactoforum.org, I believe.
I think there's also an event later this year, maybe Feb. It's like a technology leadership role. It's in San Francisco. There's like CTO of LinkedIn, and all these big companies are going to be there. So that's something I definitely want to check out.
And check out the 0111 CTO
That's
conferences.
right. That's in March 29th,
yes,
right? That's
Vegas, right. And we're going to have them in Vegas, Portland, San Diego.
I will definitely be there. So
okay.
I'm gonna reach out to you, and you're gonna have to show me around. Not Vegas, but amongst all these people, I personally hate Vegas. It's
Vegas is an acquired taste.
It's an acquired taste for sure. But when you're with the right people, I think it makes a difference.
Okay, Jesus, it's good to meet you, man.
Likewise.
Cheers.
Likewise. Thanks for having me.
Have you chatted with a CTO lately? Hi, thank you for listening to the CTO Studio. If you don't mind, take a quick second and please rate and review the show. It helps us a lot. Go to the CTOstudio.com for more information on what we're doing at 7 CTOs. We also have a video or two for you that could be a helpful resource for you as you're managing your company. So thank you for listening.